No retreat remained. The human princess held the line. The city had been built on the high cliffs above the Emerald River that cut through the valley, its waters glinting under the late afternoon sun. From here, she could see the neatly arranged buildings, the solar towers glimmering in the light, and the bustling streets where humans went about their daily lives. Children played along the riverbanks while workers repaired buildings and maintained energy collectors. Yet beneath this calm, a quiet tension lingered. The colony was far from the human core worlds. It was a frontier settlement, established to explore the limits of human space and to secure resources for the growing human population. But now, with news of the Arden Collective expanding their reach into human territory, the people of Havenfall could not ignore the danger. The Arden were known across many galaxies for their advanced technology, efficient strategies, and relentless expansion. Though they rarely showed cruelty, their approach was cold and calculating, leaving little room for negotiation. Alara knew that fear could be as dangerous as any enemy. She could sense it in the way colonists whispered in the streets, in the anxious movements of the engineers, and in the hesitancy of the young scouts preparing for patrols. A city divided by fear would crumble, no matter how strong its defenses. She turned from the view and walked down the polished corridors toward the main plaza. Her footsteps echoed lightly as she passed groups of colonists. Many paused to glance at her, nodding respectfully or murmuring her name. Princess Alara had inherited the throne not only for her lineage, but because she carried the hope of humanity on her shoulders. She was not a queen yet, but the people saw in her a symbol of courage, intelligence, and leadership. In the plaza, she gathered the town council and representatives from nearby settlements. Engineers, scientists, and even a few retired explorers joined the discussion. Alara did not raise her voice, but her presence commanded attention. "Friends," she began, "we all know the news. The Arden Collective is expanding, and some may say that our position here is dangerous, that we are too small, too far, and too weak to resist, but we are not powerless." Her voice was calm, yet it carried the weight of conviction. "We may not have their technology, but we have something no machine can replicate: human ingenuity, courage, and determination. If we work together, we can hold our ground, adapt to challenges, and protect our home." A murmur of approval ran through the crowd, though doubt lingered in many eyes. One of the engineers, a tall man with silver-streaked hair, spoke up. "Your Highness, the Arden machines are unlike anything we have seen. Even our best drones would struggle to defend the city against a direct assault." Alara nodded thoughtfully. "That is why we will not meet them head-on. We will use what we have in clever ways. We will build decoys, set up safe zones, and make the city a puzzle they cannot solve easily. Every alley, every building, every bridge can be turned into an advantage if we think creatively." A young scout stepped forward, her eyes bright with energy. "Princess, I've mapped the outer ridges and valleys. There are natural paths the Arden ships might take. We could use that knowledge to guide them away from the city." Alara smiled. "Exactly. Every human mind can contribute. Every skill matters. Engineers, scouts, farmers, teachers, we all have a role. We are not soldiers by trade, but we are defenders by choice." Over the next few hours, the council worked tirelessly. Maps were spread across tables, sketches were made of makeshift defenses, and plans for communication lines were drawn. Alara moved among them, listening, advising, and encouraging. She did not simply give orders, she guided and inspired. As evening fell, the city began to glow with lights. The rivers reflected the golden sun, and the high cliffs cast long shadows over the valley. Princess Alara stood once more on the observation deck. She watched as colonists returned to their homes, some glancing up at her with hope in their eyes. A soft chime at her side alerted her to a message. It was from the scouts who had been monitoring the outer regions. Their tone was tense but controlled. The report stated that a small Arden fleet had been spotted on the edge of the system, moving toward human territory. It was not yet an attack, but it was a warning that time was short. Alara did not panic. She had felt the thrill of fear before, but she had learned that action could transform fear into strength. She called her advisors to a smaller council room, where the walls were lined with displays showing star charts and sensor data. "We have limited time," she said. "The Arden scouts are close. Our first step is not to fight them directly but to test their approach. We need to understand their methods, their patterns, and their weaknesses. Scouts, prepare observation posts. Engineers, ready decoy signals and automated guidance markers. Civilians, continue your work as usual. Do not let fear disrupt daily life. The more we appear calm and confident, the more we control the situation." Her words carried a calm authority. Everyone in the room understood that she had thought of more than just immediate safety. She had a vision of how human ingenuity could challenge a superior opponent without risking unnecessary harm. Late into the night, Princess Alara walked through the empty streets of Havenfall. The city slept, but her mind raced with strategies and possibilities. She imagined the Arden ships gliding through the void, scanning for signs of weakness. She pictured her people, clever and determined, turning every challenge into an opportunity. At the cliff edge, she looked at the river below. Its waters moved with a steady, unstoppable rhythm. The river did not panic at obstacles, it found a way around them. That, she thought, was how humans would face the coming challenge, not by force, but by flowing, adapting, and finding a way forward no matter the obstacles. The next morning, the colony awoke to unusual activity. Scouts reported small movements in the skies, and the automated systems picked up signals from the Arden ships. Princess Alara gathered the people in the plaza once more. She addressed them with the same calm conviction she had shown the day before. "Today, we do not retreat. Today we stand, not because we must fight, but because we are human. We will watch, we will learn, and we will act with intelligence and care. Our strength lies not in weapons, but in our minds, our hearts, and our unity. Remember this. No matter how advanced the Arden may be, they cannot match our creativity, our courage, or our determination. We hold the line together." The people cheered, a clear sound that echoed through the valley. Fear was still there, but it was tempered by hope. Princess Alara smiled, feeling the energy of her people and the weight of responsibility she carried. The challenge ahead would not be easy, but she knew that humanity had faced impossible odds before and had always risen stronger. By midday, the colony had mobilized in subtle ways. Observation posts were established on high ridges, decoy signals were placed across key locations, and emergency pathways were mapped for civilians. Every action was designed to confuse and misdirect rather than to harm. When the first Arden scout ship appeared on the horizon, the humans were ready. It moved slowly, scanning the planet with lights and sensors, unaware that it was being guided along false trails. Princess Alara observed the scene from the observation deck, her eyes sharp, her mind analyzing every move. The scout changed direction several times, seemingly confused by the signals. Engineers monitored the readings and relayed information back to her. Every detail was valuable. Every reaction could teach them more about this unknown force. Hours passed, and the scout finally departed without aggression. A quiet cheer went up among the engineers and scouts. Princess Alara allowed herself a small smile. The first test had been passed. They had held the line not with weapons, but with wit, planning, and courage. As night fell, the princess returned to the quiet observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly above, and she felt a deep connection to her people and to the human spirit. She knew this was only the beginning. The Arden were patient, calculating, and relentless, but humanity was not easily broken. And somewhere deep inside her, Princess Alara felt the unwavering certainty that no matter how dark the shadow of the future might grow, humans would hold their line, adapt, and endure. For in the face of impossible odds, when retreat was not an option, humanity's greatest strength shone brightest: courage, ingenuity, and the unyielding will to survive. The morning air over Havenfall was crisp and alive with activity. Princess Alara walked through the streets, her cloak brushing lightly against the solar-powered walkways. The city was no longer just a quiet frontier settlement. It had become a living network of minds and ideas, each citizen contributing to the shared goal of preparedness. The recent sighting of the Arden scout ship had ignited determination among the people. Fear was still there, but it had transformed into action. Alara stopped at the main engineering hall, a vast structure filled with humming machines, glowing monitors, and the constant chatter of humans collaborating on clever devices. Engineers were installing small automated drones along the cliff edges, each programmed to record, relay, and occasionally create distractions if needed. Another team worked on holographic decoys that could simulate the appearance of city activity or fleets of small transport ships. "Your Highness," said Captain Rylan, the lead coordinator of the engineering teams, "we have the drones ready for deployment. The decoy signals are calibrated to confuse sensors. If the Arden return, they will see activity where there is none and real movements where they expect stillness." Alara nodded, her gaze moving over the glowing monitors. "Good work. Remember, we are not trying to fight them directly. We are showing them a city that is alive, organized, and unpredictable. That will be our advantage." As the city's defenses quietly activated, Alara made her way to the observation posts that the scouts had set up along the cliffs. From here, she could see the distant horizon where the first Arden fleet had been spotted. The sky was empty now, but sensors indicated small movements in the upper atmosphere. A young scout named Lyra approached, her eyes bright but her voice calm. "Princess, I've set up observation points at 3 locations. Each post is equipped with communication relays and sensors. We can track any incoming ships long before they enter our immediate airspace." Alara placed a reassuring hand on Lyra's shoulder. "Excellent. Remember, the key is observation, not engagement. Every piece of information we gather is a victory. Humans have always been strong because we learn, adapt, and use knowledge better than any machine." By midday, the city was buzzing with careful preparation. Civilians went about their daily lives, tending gardens, repairing solar panels, and teaching children in community halls. Yet behind this ordinary activity, every movement had purpose. Paths were mapped to guide people safely if needed, buildings were subtly reinforced, and small energy shields were positioned around critical systems. Every citizen understood their role in this quiet defense. Alara returned to the central plaza, where representatives of the town council, engineers, and scouts had gathered. She addressed them calmly, her presence inspiring confidence. "The Arden are methodical. They do not act without study and planning. That gives us an advantage. We know where they are, and we know their methods are predictable in some ways. Our job is to stay ahead, to make ourselves adaptable, and to keep learning. Each day we observe, we gain strength. Each day we prepare, we gain courage." The council members nodded, and engineers quietly shared schematics of new ideas. Holographic barriers, reflective surfaces, and automated observation drones were discussed with excitement. Every suggestion was considered, refined, and integrated into the broader plan. As the sun began its slow descent, scouts reported movement on the horizon. Small ships, no larger than observation vessels, glided across the sky. The Arden had returned. Alara stood on the cliff edge, her eyes scanning the approaching fleet. These were not attack ships, but reconnaissance craft designed to measure defenses and probe weaknesses. She had expected them. She had prepared for them. "Remember," she called to the scouts, "they are observers, not invaders. Let them see what we want them to see. Use decoys, mislead sensors, and gather information about them in return. Every movement they make is a lesson for us. The first Arden scout entered the atmosphere, scanning with subtle lights and sensors. Drones scattered around the cliffs reflected signals, and holographic images created the illusion of movement where no one actually was. The scout paused, recalculating its approach. Alara observed with sharp eyes, noting every adjustment the ship made. She could almost feel the calculations happening within the alien sensors, their patterns predictable but still precise. "Good," she whispered. "They are learning what we want them to learn. Patience is our greatest weapon right now." For hours, the scout moved through the sky, sometimes hovering near one observation point, sometimes moving toward another. Scouts relayed data constantly, feeding information to engineers who adjusted drones, decoys, and barriers in real time. Every action was a silent dialogue between humans and the alien observers. By evening, the scout had moved on without causing any harm. The city exhaled collectively, relief and quiet pride mixing in the streets. Citizens began to share their stories, children pointing to the sky and adults whispering about the clever devices that had fooled the alien sensors. Princess Alara moved among them, listening, encouraging, and praising their efforts. "This is what I mean," she said, speaking to a small group of children who had been helping set up reflective panels. "You see, courage does not always mean fighting. Sometimes courage is using your mind, working together, and facing the unknown with calm. Today, you all were heroes." The next morning brought new challenges. Sensor readings indicated that another, slightly larger Arden vessel was approaching. Alara called a council meeting to discuss the strategy. "The situation is similar, but we must be more attentive," she explained. "This ship will test our coordination. It will try to find patterns, weaknesses, or inconsistencies. We must remain unpredictable. Move drones differently, adjust decoys, and make sure our movements appear natural. Above all, we must remain calm. Fear is more dangerous than any scanner." Engineers and scouts worked tirelessly, adjusting their systems and sharing ideas. Even civilians contributed, offering suggestions for hidden pathways, camouflage patterns, and clever distractions. Alara encouraged everyone to think creatively. By midday, the Arden ship appeared on the horizon. It was slightly larger than the previous scout, sleek and silent, scanning the city in slow, deliberate motions. Alara and her team observed, adjusting drones, reflective surfaces, and holographic patterns to mislead the sensors. The ship changed its path multiple times, seemingly puzzled by the patterns of the city. It paused near a valley where small decoy buildings had been erected, analyzing and then moving on. Alara watched closely, noting every adjustment, every hesitation. The human response was seamless. Drones moved in coordinated patterns, holographic images shifted, and signals from energy nodes created subtle interference. The Arden ship eventually retreated without aggression. Alara allowed herself a small smile. The city had passed another test, and the people's confidence grew. That evening, Princess Alara addressed the city in the central plaza. Citizens gathered around, their faces glowing in the soft light of the solar lamps. "Today, we have shown once again that our strength is not in brute force, but in creativity, courage, and cooperation," she said. "Every observation, every adjustment, every small action matters. We are proving that humans can face the unknown with intelligence and heart. This is only the beginning, but we are already stronger than we realize." The crowd cheered, and a sense of unity spread through the city. Alara felt a deep satisfaction, not in victory, but in the knowledge that her people were growing confident, resourceful, and prepared. Over the next several days, the pattern repeated. Arden scouts would appear, humans would observe, adjust, and mislead them. Each encounter provided valuable information about the aliens' methods, while simultaneously strengthening human confidence. The city became a living laboratory of clever strategies, adaptability, and quiet courage. One afternoon, while reviewing sensor data, Alara noticed something unexpected. The scouts seemed to be sharing information among themselves, moving in ways that suggested coordination. The Arden were learning from each encounter, adjusting their approach based on what they observed. "This changes nothing," she told her advisors calmly. "It means we must continue to evolve, to stay ahead, and to make every interaction a lesson for us as well. We are not just defending, we are teaching ourselves and testing our limits." The engineers nodded, already discussing improvements to drones, decoys, and communication networks. The scouts planned new observation posts in hidden valleys, creating a dynamic network that constantly adapted to changing conditions. Princess Alara walked through the city streets late that evening. The sky was painted with the soft hues of sunset, and the river shimmered like liquid gold. Citizens were finishing their work, children were playing, and the city felt alive with purpose. She paused at a quiet overlook, looking at the distant horizon where the scouts had been seen most recently. She imagined the Arden fleet, sleek and methodical, scanning for weaknesses, only to encounter clever patterns and unexpected strategies. Humans were not the strongest physically, nor did they have the most advanced machines, but they had something the aliens could not anticipate: adaptability, creativity, and courage that stemmed from hope and unity. As night fell, Princess Alara returned to her quarters. The city slept, but the network of minds, machines, and strategies continued to hum with quiet activity. She knew that the Arden were patient, and that future encounters could be more challenging. But she also knew that Havenfall had already proven something remarkable. Humans could hold the line through intelligence, cooperation, and calm determination. Alara sat by her desk, reviewing reports from the scouts and engineers. Every detail mattered, every lesson counted. She reflected on the courage of her people, their willingness to contribute in ways both small and large. She thought of the children setting up reflective panels, the engineers coordinating drones, and the scouts watching the skies for hours on end. In that moment, she felt a deep certainty. Humanity could face challenges far greater than themselves and emerge stronger. Fear would never paralyze them, because they had discovered a power greater than any weapon: the human spirit. And in the days to come, when the Arden fleet would test their resolve once more, Princess Alara knew that Havenfall and humanity would be ready to meet the unknown not with panic, but with courage, intelligence, and unwavering determination. Princess Alara stood once again on the observation deck, her gaze sweeping across the cliffs and valleys surrounding Havenfall. The morning sun was rising slowly, casting long shadows across the city. The air was filled with a quiet hum of anticipation. The Arden scouts had returned more frequently in recent days, their movements precise and coordinated. It was clear now that they were learning from each encounter, observing patterns, and attempting to map every human action. Alara knew this meant one thing: the next encounter would be the most challenging yet. The Arden were no longer testing, they were strategizing. And the humans had to respond with the same level of intelligence and creativity. She turned to Captain Rylan and the lead engineers. "Today, we take what we have learned and create a system that is more than the sum of its parts. Drones, decoys, observation posts, everything must work together, not separately. We will make Havenfall a living puzzle, one that even the most calculating fleet cannot fully understand." Rylan nodded. "Understood, Princess. We've already begun coordinating the drone movements and decoy signals so that they appear to be random but are actually patterns we control. This will give us an edge in anticipation and misdirection." Alara smiled faintly. "Excellent, and we will keep civilians involved. Their movements, routines, and even their work patterns can become part of the strategy. Every person contributes to our defense, whether they realize it or not." The city quickly came alive with careful activity. Engineers and technicians adjusted drones to fly in coordinated formations, creating shadows and reflections to confuse sensors. Holographic projections shifted subtly across the streets, showing buildings where none existed and pathways where there were none. Scouts moved through hidden trails, observing not only the city but also the surrounding cliffs and forests. They noted patterns in the wind, reflections in the water, and even how sunlight fell on different surfaces, all details that could be used to their advantage. Alara moved among the civilians, quietly encouraging them. Remember, your daily work matters. Each action, each routine contributes to our larger plan. The Arden are clever, but they cannot predict human creativity. Keep calm, keep moving, and trust in your own ingenuity. By midday, the first signs of the Arden fleet appeared on the horizon. This time, it was not a single scout but a group of several ships, gliding silently across the sky. The sensors picked up their approach, relaying every detail to the observation posts and central command. Alara observed carefully, noting the formation and the subtle shifts in their movement. The fleet moved in patterns that suggested they were analyzing the city for vulnerabilities, attempting to predict human responses. She smiled quietly. This was exactly what they wanted. Remember, she said to the scouts and engineers, do not engage. We are not fighting them. We are guiding them, teaching them lessons without them realizing it. Every false path, every decoy, every reflection, it is all part of our strategy. The first ship hovered near the eastern cliffs, scanning with lights and sensors. Drones flew in coordinated patterns, casting moving shadows and reflections. Holographic buildings flickered in and out of existence, creating illusions of activity and movement. The ship shifted slightly, recalculating, but could not find any predictable pattern to exploit. A scout reported, "They are pausing more often than usual. Their sensors are picking up multiple signals that do not match what they expect. They are trying to adapt, but every adjustment leads them into new decoys." Alara's eyes sparkled. "Good. This is exactly what we want. Every movement they make is a lesson for us, and every pause they take is an opportunity to observe them. Watch closely." Hours passed in a careful balance of observation, adjustment, and subtle guidance. Every human action was purposeful, yet appeared natural. Civilians carried out their routines, engineers adjusted drones and holograms, and scouts relayed data to central command. Princess Ilara moved constantly, observing, advising, and encouraging. As evening approached, the Arden fleet began a slow retreat, their movements cautious and deliberate. Ilara allowed herself a small, quiet smile. Havenfall had once again met the challenge, not through force, but through intelligence, coordination, and ingenuity. That night, the city celebrated in quiet ways. Citizens shared meals, told stories, and discussed ideas for improving defenses. Princess Ilara joined them in the central plaza, walking among people who had become more confident, more resourceful, and more determined. "You all have done something remarkable today," she said softly, addressing a group of engineers and scouts. "You have proven that humans can face the unknown without fear, using only our minds, our creativity, and our cooperation. This is how we hold the line." Over the next several days, Alara worked tirelessly with the council, engineers, and scouts. They analyzed every movement of the Arden fleet, learning patterns, strengths, and limitations. They improved drones, refined holographic decoys, and developed a dynamic network of observation posts that could shift locations quickly. Civilians continued their work, unknowingly contributing to the strategic plan through their daily routines. One afternoon, a young engineer named Tavin approached Princess Alara with an idea. "Your Highness, what if we combine reflective surfaces, drones, and holograms in one synchronized system? It could create a shifting environment that changes constantly, making it impossible for the Arden to predict our moves." Alara's eyes brightened. That is exactly what we need. Let's develop it immediately. Every tool, every skill, every person will become part of a single, living system. We will create an environment that is as adaptable as humanity itself. Work began immediately. Engineers coordinated drones to move in intricate formations, casting moving shadows and reflections. Holographic images shifted constantly across the streets and buildings. Energy nodes created subtle interference patterns that altered sensor readings. Scouts moved through hidden pathways, relaying real-time adjustments to the system. The result was a city that was no longer static. Havenfall became a living network of coordinated activity, constantly shifting and adapting. Every movement, every light, every reflection was part of a deliberate strategy to confuse and mislead the Arden fleet. When the next Arden scouts approached, they were met with a city that seemed alive and unpredictable. Sensors picked up movement in places that did not exist, buildings appeared and disappeared, and drones cast shadows that shifted constantly. The fleet paused, adjusted, and recalculated repeatedly, unable to find predictable patterns. Alara watched from the observation deck, her mind analyzing every movement. "Patience," she whispered. "Every hesitation is an opportunity. Every pause is a lesson. We do not need to fight, we only need to be clever, adaptable, and united." The scouts spent hours analyzing the shifting cityscape, unable to find a consistent path. Finally, they retreated, leaving Havenfall untouched. The citizens erupted in quiet celebration, proud of their ingenuity and cooperation. Princess Alara addressed the city once more, standing before the crowd in the central plaza. "Today, we have done something extraordinary. We have turned our minds, our courage, and our creativity into a living defense. We have proven that humans can face challenges greater than themselves and emerge stronger, without fighting, without fear, and without surrendering hope." The crowd cheered, their voices echoing across the cliffs and valleys. Children laughed, engineers smiled, and scouts exchanged proud glances. Havenfall had become a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. That night, Princess Alara walked through the city alone, reflecting on the events of the day. The river below shimmered under the moonlight, and the soft hum of drones filled the air. Every detail, every movement, every adjustment had contributed to a remarkable success. She knew that the Arden fleet would return again, possibly with larger ships or more coordinated tactics. But she also knew that Havenfall was no longer just a city. It was a network of minds, a living system of intelligence and adaptability. Humans had discovered a power greater than any weapon, the ability to think, adapt, and cooperate in ways that no machine could fully anticipate. Alara paused at the cliff edge, looking out at the horizon where the Arden ships had appeared most recently. She imagined their calculations, their sensors, and their strategies being constantly challenged by the creativity and determination of humans. A sense of quiet satisfaction filled her. In the days that followed, Havenfall continued to evolve. Scouts mapped hidden paths, engineers refined drones and holograms, and civilians carried out their daily routines, contributing to the living system. Princess Alara remained at the center of it all, guiding, observing, and inspiring. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she gathered her closest advisors. "We have proven that we can hold the line without violence, without fear, and without surrender. But we must remember that this is only the beginning. The Arden are patient and their next move will be more complex. We must continue to evolve, adapt, and innovate." Rylan nodded. "We are ready, Princess. Havenfall is no longer just a city. It is a living strategy, a demonstration of human intelligence and courage." Alara smiled, her eyes reflecting the last rays of sunlight. "Good. Then we are ready for whatever comes next. No matter the challenge, we will face it together. That is what it means to be human. That is how we hold the line." And as night fell over Havenfall, the city glowed softly, alive with the quiet strength of human ingenuity, courage, and cooperation. The Arden fleet may return, but they would find that the humans of Havenfall were not just surviving. They were thriving, learning, and shaping a defense that no calculation could ever fully predict. Princess Ilara looked to the stars, a calm determination in her heart. The future was uncertain, the challenges great, but the human spirit was stronger than any obstacle. Havenfall had held the line, and humanity's story was just beginning. The sky over Havenfall was clear, painted with the pale light of dawn. Princess Ilara stood on the observation deck, her cloak catching the morning breeze. The city below was calm, yet the energy of countless minds and hearts flowed quietly through every street, building, and alley. The previous encounters with the Arden fleet had transformed Havenfall. It was no longer a simple frontier colony. It had become a symbol of human resilience, ingenuity, and unity. Ilara's eyes moved over the bustling city. Engineers checked drones and energy nodes. Scouts mapped the cliffs and valleys, and civilians carried on their work with a sense of purpose. Even the children, who had helped set up reflective panels and holographic devices, seemed to understand that they were part of something larger. Every movement mattered. Every action contributed to the city's living defense. "Your Highness," said Captain Rylan, approaching from behind, "the scouts report that the Arden fleet has shifted course. They are observing from a distance, analyzing our city as we expected. They have not made any aggressive moves. It seems they are trying to understand what we have created." Ilara nodded. "Good. Let them observe. Every second they spend learning from us is a second they are not interfering with our people. Havenfall has become more than a city. It is a statement. Humans are not easily understood, and we are not easily intimidated." Rylan looked at her thoughtfully. "Your leadership has made this possible, Princess. People trust you, and that trust has transformed the entire city into something extraordinary." Ilara smiled softly. "Trust is not enough. Everyone must contribute, and everyone must believe that their actions matter. When humans act together, with intelligence and courage, we become stronger than any machine or algorithm." The next few days passed in a careful rhythm of observation and adjustment. The Arden fleet remained distant, their presence a reminder that the challenge had not ended. Scouts reported their movements, engineers refined drones and holographic systems, and civilians continued their routines. Every detail was part of a larger plan. Ilara gathered the city council and lead engineers in the central plaza one morning. "We have proven that we can hold the line," she began. "But we must now think beyond defense. We must think about cooperation, communication, and alliances. Other human colonies are watching us. They will learn from our example. It is our responsibility to show them that courage, intelligence, and unity are the true strengths of humanity." A young engineer spoke up. "Princess, we could establish a network connecting Havenfall with nearby colonies. Sharing data, strategies, and technologies could strengthen all human settlements, making them safer and more resilient." Ilara's eyes brightened. "Exactly. We will create a network of support, not just for defense, but for knowledge, creativity, and growth. Humans are strongest when we learn from one another and act together. Prepare the communications network. Begin reaching out to nearby colonies." Work began immediately. Drones carried communication relays to distant outposts, and secure networks were established between colonies. Engineers and scouts traveled to neighboring settlements, teaching them the strategies that had made Havenfall successful. Holographic and sensor technology was shared, along with methods for organizing civilian participation in defense systems. While this effort unfolded, the Arden fleet remained a distant presence, observing but not attacking. Ilara understood their behavior. The aliens were intelligent, patient, and calculating, but they had never encountered humans who could think so unpredictably, act so cooperatively, and adapt so quickly. Havenfall had become an example of human ingenuity on a scale the Arden had not anticipated. One afternoon, a scout returned with surprising news. "Your Highness, the Arden fleet has communicated with us, not with weapons but with signals. They wish to establish contact, to understand our systems, our methods, and perhaps our intentions." Alara's gaze was steady. "This is an opportunity. We will engage with them carefully, respectfully, and openly. We have proven our capabilities through action. Now we must show them the principles that guide humanity: cooperation, intelligence, and courage." A meeting was arranged on neutral ground, using holographic projections to communicate across space. Princess Alara addressed the Arden delegation, her voice calm and measured. "We welcome your curiosity. You have observed our city, our people, and our methods. We act not out of fear or aggression, but out of determination to protect, to learn, and to grow. Humanity thrives through creativity, cooperation, and courage. We hope our example can foster understanding and respect." The Arden responded with signals that indicated analysis and careful interpretation. They had never encountered a civilization that responded to observation with clever, nonviolent strategies and continuous adaptation. Alara knew that the first impression mattered, and that humans had demonstrated their greatest strengths not through weaponry, but through intelligence, creativity, and ethical action. Over the following days, communication between humans and the Arden continued, cautious but increasingly respectful. Alara ensured that every interaction reflected humanity's principles: curiosity, ingenuity, and collaboration. She guided engineers, scouts, and diplomats to show the aliens not only what humans could do, but how humans thought, acted, and valued life and knowledge. Meanwhile, Havenfall and the surrounding colonies grew stronger through shared technology and strategies. Every settlement contributed ideas, innovations, and experiences. Drones, holograms, and observation posts became more sophisticated, while civilian participation ensured that communities were resilient, adaptable, and prepared for any challenge. One evening, as the sun set over the cliffs, Alara stood with Rylan and several council members on the observation deck. The city below glowed softly, alive with purpose and energy. Scouts reported that the Arden fleet had moved slightly closer, but there was no aggression. Instead, they were observing, learning, and responding to human initiatives. "Princess," Rylan said, "we have reached a remarkable point. Havenfall is no longer just a city. It is a network, a system, a living example of human ingenuity. Other colonies are following our lead, and even the Arden are adapting to our methods. Your leadership has made this possible." Alara smiled. "It is not my leadership alone. Every person here has contributed. Every idea, every action, every moment of calm determination has built this outcome. Humans are stronger when we act together, and this is proof. The Arden may be powerful, but they cannot match the creativity, cooperation, and courage of humanity." As night fell, Alara walked through the city streets, observing her people. Engineers adjusted drones and holographic signals, scouts moved along hidden paths, and civilians carried on with their work. The city thrummed with quiet energy, a living testament to human potential. She paused at a quiet overlook, looking at the stars. The Arden fleet hovered in the distance, distant but ever-present. Alara thought about the path humanity had taken, from fear to action, from uncertainty to confidence, and from isolation to cooperation across colonies. A young scout approached her. "Princess, do you think they will leave us alone now?" Alara looked at the horizon, then at the scout's eager face. "I do not know, but that is not what matters. What matters is that we have proven our strength, not through force, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. No one can take that from us. No one can predict the creativity and determination of humans when we work together." The scout nodded, inspired by her words. We will continue to learn and adapt, Princess. We will hold the line just like you said. Alara placed a hand on the scout's shoulder. Yes, and one day other civilizations may look to humanity as an example. Not because we have the strongest weapons or the largest fleet, but because we know how to act with intelligence, cooperation, and courage. That is our true power. Over the next weeks, the human network expanded further. Colonies exchanged knowledge, shared strategies, and coordinated defenses. Drones and holographic systems became more advanced, while civilians and scouts developed routines that strengthened resilience and adaptability. Havenfall became the hub of this network, a symbol of human ingenuity and courage. The Arden fleet remained distant, observing and learning, their curiosity growing. They had never encountered a species that could adapt so quickly, act so cohesively, and maintain moral principles while defending its home. Princess Alara's approach had transformed the dynamic. Humans no longer feared observation. They used it to improve, adapt, and demonstrate strength. One evening, Alara addressed the citizens of Havenfall in the central plaza. The crowd gathered quietly, eager to hear her words. "People of Havenfall," she said, her voice calm and strong, "we have faced the unknown and turned it into an opportunity. We have learned, adapted, and grown together. We have proven that courage does not always mean fighting. Strength does not always mean power. Our true strength lies in intelligence, creativity, cooperation, and the unwavering determination to protect our homes, our people, and our future." The crowd erupted in quiet applause, faces glowing with pride and hope. Children smiled, engineers exchanged satisfied nods, and scouts stood tall with quiet confidence. Havenfall had not only survived, it had become a beacon of human potential. That night, Princess Alara stood alone on the observation deck, gazing at the stars. The Arden fleet shimmered faintly in the distance, a reminder that challenges still existed. But she felt no fear, only certainty. Humanity had discovered its greatest strength, the ability to adapt, cooperate, and face the unknown with courage and intelligence. Alara knew that the future held many challenges, but she also knew that humans would face them together, guided by curiosity, creativity, and determination. Havenfall had held the line, and in doing so, had shown that the human spirit was unstoppable. As the city slept under the soft glow of energy nodes and distant stars, Alara allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. Humanity had stood firm, adapted, and thrived. And with every heartbeat of the city, every movement of the people, and every spark of creativity, the story of humanity continued, undaunted, unyielding, and full of hope. Havenfall had held the line, and the future of humanity shone brighter than any star. No retreat remained. The human princess held the line.